الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. You're listening to Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton 87.8 FM in the Black Country region, and we are starting a new program here today. In the studio we've got experts in the world of local activism. They are going to be introducing themselves. They will be talking about their work. They will be talking about the organizations they represent. And the aim of the show is really to create awareness and understanding of the issues going on in Palestine at the moment, and how we as locals can become activated and legally, and without being radicalized, without getting involved in things we shouldn't, how we as a community can get involved and support the efforts that are going on to create awareness, to create understanding, and thereby to hopefully try to ameliorate and try to resolve some of these international problems. Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton is a local radio station here to entertain, inspire and educate. And as part of that, we wish to bring people and ideas to our audience so that they can hopefully be able to learn and understand about the world around them, and be able to learn and understand how to interact with that world around them. The guests we've got in the studio for this show are Mr. Martin Lynch from CABO organisation in Walsall. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You usually pronounce Cobor, but I wouldn't worry.
CABO. Yes. Assalamu alaikum and welcome. Hello, Martin, and how are you today?
I'm fine, thanks. Yes, I've just come from a campaigning session in Walsall where we were seeking to persuade people to be alive to what they're buying when they're going shopping.
So we'll
discuss
we'll talk about divestment and those types of things and sanctions later on, no doubt. But your journey, was it an easy journey? And thankfully the sun is shining.
Yes, it was, and thanks very much.
So you've come from and joining us from Walsall. We've also got an expert solicitor, an international lawyer, Altaf Hussain. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
How are you, Altaf?
Not bad.
Now, you've been very kind to us because you've come all the way from Birmingham today, which is very, very good of you. It's a good distance away. Did you find us easily? Was it okay?
Yes, it was quite easy to get here. I have been to Wolverhampton many times in the past, but thank you for inviting me.
Excellent. And tell us, how is your Ramadan going?
I really enjoy fasting purely, obviously, from a religious perspective. It has its benefits, but from a health perspective, it has fantastic benefits. So for me, fasting is a way to heal the body as well as obviously adhere to my Islamic duties and rituals.
Excellent. Good. It's just as you were coming in, you did mention how in the last few days you struggle a lot more, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in our listeners who would agree with that and say, we are feeling it now, waiting for Eid to come.
Absolutely. By the 21st fast, I'm absolutely drained, low on energy. My voice is still strong, so I have hopefully lots of energy this afternoon to communicate what we need to speak about in terms of the issues in Britain and Palestine.
Excellent, good. Well, we really do need your brain and your voice today, so as long as those are working, alhamdulillah, everything should go swimmingly, as they say. Right, okay, so I want to really first of all discuss and open up the debate. Listeners, if you do want to please phone in, you are welcome to do so, and you can ask questions or you can make contributions to the debate. Our studio number is 01902 972 150. You're listening to Yusuf Shafi In Conversation With, and today we're talking about Palestine Awareness and the campaign around that. We will be joined by Tanvir Mohammed, and as I say his name, he appears. So what does that tell you about him? Tanvir is another local activist from Shropshire, and he's very active in the world of campaigns and supporting local youth organisations primarily. And as he takes his coat off, the camera picks him up, so you can sit at your chair there, Tanvir. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Alaikum salam, Yusuf. Okay, just a little bit out of breath, but that's Ramadan for you.
So before you came into the studio, we all had a pre-meet, a briefing about what we would be talking about, and what we decided is that we're going to give the first 20 minutes just to yourself to just ad-lib and carry on. No, I'm just teasing.
Okay.
How is the world in Shropshire and Telford, where you've come from?
The world is changing, isn't it? Just like the weather. We have the winds, we have the storms, we have the sunshines, and what have you. But that's the typical conversation in the British culture. But going back to the culture and the climate with what's going on, especially with people who watch a lot of things on the media, the climate, people, you see sad faces, but it's nice to see happy faces because the sun is shining. But it's dealing with the day-to-day issues. I have a lot of young people, a lot of people who express concerns of life, unhappiness, what's going on, their opinions. They feel that they're not heard. And for example, governments and policies and procedures are applicable for them, but not for anybody else.
Okay.
So there's a culture now that's growing, especially with the youth, that you cannot fool because they're the 21st century who've got technology and they're on the ball and they're asking the real awkward questions.
Okay. Let's start set the scene then. So we've got a war going on.
Yes.
We've got two parties. We've got Israel on one side. We've got the Palestinians on the other side. And here we are, thousands of miles away. We switch on our televisions. We see the death. We see the famine. We see the destruction. We see the violence. We are asked as a community to condemn, and we do. Because wherever there is loss of innocent life, it is a shame, it is terrible, it is an atrocity. And whether that person be a Muslim, whether that be a Hindu, a Sikh, a Christian, a Jew, or any other faith, or people of no faith for that matter, there is absolutely no sanction for, there's absolutely no permission to take innocent life. And here we are sitting in our lovely 3-bedroom terraces or semi-detached homes. We've got lovely warm heating and we've got all the facilities around us, and we think to ourselves, why? And we think to ourselves, how? And we try to contemplate and try to make sense of the atrocity, and we try to say, what is going on? What is it I can do to support? Martin, I want you to bring you in first.
Thank you. At one level, it's thousands of miles away, but at another level, it's right here within all of us and in our communities. And I don't suppose I'm alone in feeling that it's almost impossible to switch off from this because we are living it as well. I'm not for a moment suggesting we're suffering as people in the Gaza Strip are, of course. But it is our government, ultimately, who has played a crucial role in underpinning this. I don't want in any way to be controversial, but I do think that's a statement of facts, and I think we have to start from that. I suspect most people listening are aware of the general history, so I'd be very brief, but Britain, in a sense, set the ball rolling for the establishment of what eventually was the Israeli state. With the Balfour Declaration, a government minister in 1917, who set out that the British government was minded to support the establishment of what became Israel. Incredible arrogance, really, because Britain had no authority to do such a thing. It wasn't even given the mandate to run the place at that stage by the League of Nations, and I'm not legitimizing that either. But nevertheless, I just say that because I think it frames the conversation. It is inevitably our business. And for me, anyway, I feel a serious responsibility, as I know many do, to say not in our name to start with. We are not going to line up behind this horrible assault. And I understand calling it a war for shorthand, but initially...
if I can interject, Martin.
Of course.
We're using incorrect terms to address the issues that we see unfold before our eyes. It's not a war. A war is two armies fighting each other that are organized. So it's important that we address this as it is. Okay, so what we have is an organized army funded by lots of governments. And then you have a civilian population who's trying to fight back, who's trying to survive effectively. So it's not a war. So that's the first issue. Secondly, I don't agree with the term activist or activism. We're humans. If we see wrong, we need to put our hand up. If we can't, then we need to speak. So if we see injustice, we need to speak. That doesn't make me an activist. It just makes me human. And it makes, can you see what I'm trying to get at? So these words, these types of labels, this is what I want to speak about today.
So are you saying, Altaf, that you think the word activism creates a barrier? People would otherwise be more willing to contribute and support and do the good work that all you three I know are doing, in order to create awareness and try to ameliorate some of these problems. Are you saying the word activism means
I think so.
People are then not coming forward because I'm not an activist, so I don't have to do anything?
It's a dangerous word, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of makes people a bit more emotional, perhaps, so they think, okay, I'm an activist, so when I've come in today and I've been addressed as an activist, I thought, well, no, I'm not an activist. What I'm doing is I'm ensuring that if I see wrong, if I see injustice, I speak. And if, for example, I want to describe myself, then I would just want to describe myself as somebody who will ensure the safety of anybody, irrespective of their color, creed, religion, and that's humanity.
Good. So what you're saying is we should not be labeling people, because that's part way towards them feeling possibly radicalized, or is that me putting words into your mouth?
Radicalized. It makes them feel that perhaps they're going down a route that perhaps they shouldn't, and it causes this kind of almost like a conflict in their own head, like, oh, perhaps I shouldn't go down this way because I'm going to be labelled an activist.
It's interesting because you say that the activist, the element of I'm very passionate, just like Martin is, and Brother Altaf and yourself, but I just noticed he's wearing a Palestinian scarf.
We're going to have a fight on this.
No. I think is fantastic because he actually represents what, the freedom of speech is, what Gaza is. But it's interesting that if I wore that scarf and walked down the street with the way I look, I would look more than an activist. I'd look like a terrorist in that context.
That's a stereotype, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's just the interesting concept. But I also want to bring back to when you were saying the Balfour Treaty and what have you. Were you aware that 100-year lease, that treaty, was over before the end of September? Yeah, and if you look at the timings, people don't know that by historical treaty, Palestine was supposed to be handed over to the Ottomans, Turkey. So all this activity that happened just after, not many people know that what we would say Israel, is not an owned state. That's why all this war and all these things have happened. And if you look back in September the 11th, similar aspects, which a lot of people don't know, that China had loaned American Federal after World War II gold. And it was a 100-year loan. And it was at that time, and there was an organization, I mean, we can go into depths of that, but I want to sort of bring it back. So like the brother said, let's put a framework around to it. People need to understand and do some research because the narratives have changed as we see the media.
So Martin started off talking about how Kober is involved in Walsall and locally around this type of work. And we apologise, Altaf, for calling it activism, because clearly that's a word which you don't like.
I took that as offensive.
Some people take exception to these things. And I suppose we can entertain some nuances if that is required. That's perfectly fine.
He's our legal advisor, isn't
well,
he?
there you go. So
it's good to have
I suppose from that point of view, we will have to defer to his expertise. But what I really want to press upon then is, okay, so Balfour happened. 1967 happened. There was a partition. That partition was the Six-Day War, and it resulted in, the Arab defeat. And then there were the Oslo Accords, and then you had a whole load of negotiations and a whole load. Let's cut to the chase, really, because time is of essence. You had a whole load of discussions and negotiations around how the two-state solution may occur. And, of course, what we know is that now there's nobody in Israel with an appetite for it, and there's very few amongst the Arab world with an appetite for a two-state solution. To any of you, really, where do you see solutions and where do you see your organisations and your point of view? Altaf, maybe you want to jump in first, and then Martin, if you want to follow, and Tan. What do you see you're currently doing, and that will be successful? And how can you encourage others to come and support you and join you in what you're doing?
What I'm trying to do is effective, like I said, ensuring that people understand that, for example, if they're speaking up, it doesn't make them an activist. If people are perhaps doing more than that, it doesn't make them a terrorist. Now, for me personally, it's very important that the listeners and anybody else listening, we will defend and we will protect Britain, and we have to ensure that we're clear about that. So, and we're not going to tolerate any form of terrorism in Britain. But at the same time, what we have to understand is these terms, these acts are being misconstrued, are being misunderstood by the general public, and then they're being used by certain politicians to, create fearmongering.
I understand that you've done a fair bit of work around supporting people from a legal point of view around how to legally campaign, how to legally protest. What advice would you give to the listeners out there? What's the legal ramifications if you overstep the line? If you are involved in a protest, for example, and you say the wrong things, or you hold a placard which says is written the wrong things.
Can I just add to that? Do you remember that discussion we were saying?
Just to keep it without that. Sorry,
the confidence.
Well, I just want to be clear. I haven't really advised in terms of ace list and any formal groups in terms of how they should protest and how they shouldn't. What I would say is this: if you are going out to protest, you just need to adhere to basic, morals, British culture, basic British laws, which is speak when you need to speak, raise your voice, but don't cause a disturbance. Don't make such an issue that it causes harm to somebody else. So it's very simple, really. If the police were to stop you, then you have a very simple defense because you haven't done anything wrong. But if you're going to shout, scream, I probably had a very late night. I want to have, I want to sleep in. So you got to think about your neighbours. You got to think about the wider people. And I think people are taking things out of context and making things complex. It's very simple.
Okie dokie. Martin, tell us more about your organisation, your activities then.
Certainly, thanks.
And around.
First of all, Walsall Cobar Friendship Association has been going for a decade and a half and more now. So we've got quite a medium-term perspective at least. And in brief, we organise trips over to Cobar, which is in the West Bank, about 10 miles north of Ramallah, and we bring visitors the other way. And it's allowed us to develop quite a deep relationship with the community, which is not huge. Cobar's got about 4,000 people in it. In regard to your question, there's definitely been a shift in mood over that time. And that, I think, is something that shouldn't be a surprise to any of us. There were people who had a hope of the two-state solution in the village 15 years ago. There was still some kind of belief in the Oslo Accords delivering something. That's much, much rarer now, particularly among younger folk. And there is a generation divide on it, without a doubt. So where do we go? Well, that's a huge question, isn't it? But for me, and I'm speaking personally now, the Walsall Cobar Friendship Association has people who come at this from many angles. It's quite a broad organisation. But for me, the two-state solution is absolutely a non-starter. As you say, there's no one in Israel, actually, who was ever serious about it. I think the division in Israeli society was those who were honest about not wanting a two-state solution and not wanting a Palestinian state in any shape and form, or those who tactically pretended that they would entertain it in order to string people along. And that's been the dominant narrative in international politics now for some years, decades even. The current situation is actually where you've got certainly more brutal and even more right-wing people in Israel, but actually slightly more honest, because they are saying what their colleagues actually believed all along, but chose not to say. Now, that's not particularly progress, but it does clarify things in lots of ways. And for me, that means we have to be very, very clear. Israel is a colonial settler state. It's a state that, in many ways, is an attempt a century later, to do what was done, more than a century later, to do what was done in North America, in Australia, where incomers and settlers from Europe effectively annihilated the people of the First Nation there, who first of all. And there's little doubt in my head, and this is an absolutely correct and legal thing to say, as people, well, perhaps I suppose I shouldn't mention particular politicians in this context, so I won't, but as a number of people have observed, historians and others, people like Ilan Pappé, who a number of people may be familiar with listening. He's someone of Israeli heritage. Actually, I think he might still be an Israeli citizen, who had access to the Israeli military archives, which are now closed, and wrote a number of definitive books on exactly this process. For those people who haven't read his Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine, I strongly recommend it. It is a desperate book in some ways, but it arms us with an argument to understand what is going on, to understand the Nakba, the catastrophe when in excess of 750,000 people were driven from their homes, as I suspect we all know. So we need to understand that context, and once we understand that context and we appreciate, as Israel is, an attempt to create a settler colonial state, an exclusive one, then I think we approach it as increasingly even quite mainstream organisations such as Amnesty International are. It's an apartheid state. There is explicit discrimination against those, including people who do have Palestinians who do have Israeli citizenship. They are second-class citizens. That's within 48 Israel. So once we understand all that, I think we have to put our weight behind a steady but very determined and clear push for a single state in which everyone has equal democratic rights. That's easy to say that, of course, and quite hard to build for, but I think that has to be in our sights.
Okay, excellent. So in extent, to some extent, what you're saying is that clearly we understand the political ramifications, we understand the injustice, and what we're now saying is that we have to put right this wrong.
Yes.
We have to campaign, we have to create awareness, we have to raise our voices. And that's what Brother Altaf mentioned as well.
Martin said that what Israel wants, I'd love a 3-course meal. But I have to wait now, at least another, 4 or 5 hours. So it's not about what Israel wants. It's not about what Palestine wants. We've come down the road and become very far. It's what we now need to create to ensure the safety of civilians on both sides. And that's perhaps the way forward.
Okay.
I mean, mine's totally different perspective, speaking with the young people and what's gone on the ground and what conversation, especially within the Muslim community and then the wider community. And to bring it in, because it's a month of Ramadan, we've got to bring in religious annotations to it because it's all connected, it's all relevant. We have to bring into account Al-Aqsa and Jerusalem is the centerpiece. Whoever controls that historically controls the world. So we have to go back to biblical times and look at the historical element of this war that we see has been going on for centuries. Yeah, it's nothing new. It's the Holy Lands. The only difference is the media has portrayed it more. We have more access to information and we're a bit more closer as a wider community across the globe. But what the young people are saying in terms of this war that's going on, like now, it's gone down to the root where you can see it's obvious they're just wiping out any living thing on the Gaza Strip. But if you look at it on the religious element, which a lot of people are not talking about.
I'm just going to stop you there for 10 seconds because we're coming up to our break, and so listeners will be going to the ad break. Inshallah, we'll carry on with the debate after the break. So please join us, 87.8 FM. Assalamu alaikum.
Eurofit Auto Centres, the leading MOT and service centres in West Midlands, are recruiting technicians, MOT testers and managers. There's a starting salary of £30,000 based on experience and a minimum 5 years experience is necessary. For details, call Rashad at Eurofit Auto Centres on 01902 404045. That's Eurofit Auto Centres on 01902 404045.
Northern Gas Heating, celebrating 24 years of reliable heating and renewable energy solutions for your home. We have unbeatable offers on gas boilers, fully installed by our professional engineers. If your business or home is paying high electricity prices, call for a free Northern Gas Heating quote for cost-effective solar PV with battery storage. Visit northerngasheating.com or call 0800 083 1000.
Ramadan Kareem from Premier Tyres, suppliers of the tyres you can rely on for safe driving, as they're the only link between your vehicle and the road. And as well as leading tyre brands, Premier's your reliable go-to garage for servicing, spares, repairs and MOTs. Now available, Wolverhampton taxi plated cars for hire. Now Uber and Bolt ready, so you can run your business in confidence. For details, visit Premier Tyres, Crown Street, WV1 1PX. Call 01902 455 684 or visit premiertyreservices.com.
Experience the AK Windows difference. Visit our HQ at Economic House, Salisbury Street, Wolverhampton, WV3 OBG. Discover quality UPVC and aluminium windows, doors, roof lanterns, bifolding doors and composite doors in various styles. Offering glass and UPVC repairs too. With over 30 years of experience, AK Windows is your trusted choice for both trade and retail. For free quotations, call 01902 421 500 or visit akwindows.co.uk. Elevate your living with AK Windows. Precision, quality, satisfaction.
Midland Plastics and Plumbing Limited, your one-stop shop for home and bathrooms. A wide range of plumbing products and quality bathroom supplies in Wolverhampton. We supply underground drainage, guttering, roofing products, UPVC cladding and much more to the trade and public. This Ramadan, we're offering 40% off all bathroom suites. Visit us online at midlandplasticsltd.co.uk or call us today on 01902 399 611. Or why not visit in-store at Moore Street South, Wolverhampton, WV2 3JN.
Mubi Bass Electronics, specialist in car audio and home entertainment. Suppliers of leading brands, Samsung, Sony, and Panasonic. We supply and fit all car audio systems, top brands, Kenwood, Bose, and we're an authorized supplier of Vibe product. Visit our store online at mubibass.co.uk and order today for next day delivery. Mubi Bass Electronics are proud sponsors of Wolverhampton Wanderers FC. Call us today for a free quote on 01902 754 546 and quote Ramadan 20 for 10% off. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Mubi Bass Electronics, specialist in car audio and home entertainment.
Khan Builders offer a full range of building services, from major rebuilds to small projects, home improvements, kitchen fitting, plastering, bathroom fitting, extensions, and much more. We pride ourselves on providing a professional, caring, and high-quality service and always meet our customers' needs. Contact Khan Builders today on 07813 950 265 for a free quotation from Khan Builders. We've all spent a lot of time at home lately, and it's time to notice those carpets really need replacing. Let's be honest, we don't want to go from shop to shop, do we? Well, Perfect Carpets can save you the time and bring perfection to your floor. Over 1,000 high-quality styles and colours. Carpets start from only £3 per square yard. Rugs from £30. There's free measurements and free quotation with exclusive trade discounts to landlords and builders. You can't get any more perfect. Make your home with Perfect Carpets, the Black Country's biggest carpet store. Call us today on 01902 428 833 or visit us at 21 to 25 Snow Hill, Wolverhampton, WV2 4AD, and quote Ramadan Radio for 5% off your next order.
Quick Build Construction Limited offer a full range of building services, from major rebuilds to small projects, home improvements, kitchen fitting, plastering, bathroom fitting, extensions and much more. We pride ourselves on providing a professional, caring and high-quality service and always meet our customers' needs. Contact Quick Build Construction today on 07813 950 265 for a free quotation from Quick Build Construction.
Do you have a family member that's passed away and you would like someone to assist you in legal advice? Kenneth Jones Solicitors has been providing legal services for businesses and individuals since 1986. We specialise in probate, Islamic wills and family law. We also offer services in conveyancing, immigration and personal injury. Contact us today on 01902 745 773 or visit us on our website at kenneth-jones.co.uk.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You're listening to 87.8 FM. My name is Yusuf Shafi in conversation with, and today we've got three experts in our studio who are going to be enlightening us, entertaining us, and inspiring us around the whole debate of Palestine awareness. And what is the campaign going on, what it is we need to understand, and what is it we can do? How can we as individuals, in our own little or large way, contribute towards the debate, contribute towards understanding, and hopefully try to make some aspect of life for people in Palestine and Israel a better life, a more peaceful life, a more secure life. Our studio audience, our studio guests are Tanveer Mohammed, we've got Martin Lynch, and we've got Altaf Hussain. Altaf Hussain is an international solicitor. Martin Lynch, you are the chair of COBA organisation in Walsall, and Tanveer, you're a local activist in Telford working with youth organisations. Let's open up the debate now. There was some talk in the first stint of our discussion here around the nuances around activism, the ideas of how, whether or not we should be labelled as activists or not, whether it's just a human duty. It is a part of our responsibilities as being human beings to create awareness, to stand up and shout and scream and say, this is wrong, this should not happen, and not in my name. From that point of view, we moved on to the whole concept of, well, what are the historical arguments? What's going on from the point of view of the Aqsa Mosque? And how is it that the communities may feel that their particular view or their particular understanding of who should be running the Aqsa site has a major impact on this whole debate and is a major cause for this whole debate. Let's bring you in, Brother Tanveer.
Well, look, going back to what I was saying earlier, thank you for bringing me back in. Al-Aqsa, Jerusalem, is the center point of the world. Historically, if you're looking at the monotheistic religions, that they all share that same spot. Now, the thing is, what we have to look at historically, for centuries, they've been fighting and they've been killing and there've been all kinds of problems. It's got to the hilt. And if those who are following the religious element, the biblical side of things, whether the evangelists, the Christians, the Jewish or the Muslims, the key is everyone understands that there is the prophecies that say that. I don't want to go into too much detail on that because we could be sat here all night talking about it. But it's important for everyone to understand that everyone who's listening in will have an opinion and have a thought and have an undercurrent mindset of saying, no, this, for the Muslim community, this is targeting them because it's obvious it's there. It's not just that. It's about the whole world, the global network, the shift, the new world order, as we could talk about. There are a number of elements that are playing factor to this. And like I said earlier about the treaties, the Ottoman who have Al-Aqsa historically. And if you look history, 800 years they ruled the empire, and the Jews historically have recorded that they were thriving at the most time during the Ottoman rule. Okay,
I'm going to interject, Tanveer, and I'll tell you what the issue here is.
What's that?
If we allow Israel to continue to break international humanitarian law, that will open the floodgates to other states who will then think, well, we can do whatever we like. So it's very important that we, as a country and the world at large, try and enforce some sort of international laws, some sort of international, safeguarding army, whatever the case may be, to ensure that Israel doesn't overstep the mark anymore. Because my concern is opening the floodgates now, obviously.
It's already open, though. Look at it. You've got United Nations, you've got other countries who unanimously have decided that this has to stop.
How many months? What I'm saying is tomorrow.
You have to, but tomorrow you have to look at it. How many months now we've been waiting? The whole world is saying this is horrific, needs to stop, but they're still killing, they're still bombing, and now they're breaking laws and atrocities are killing what we would say the UN volunteers, humanitarian volunteers. Targeting them. Forget children. So we have to look at it underlying.
But this is what I'm trying to say. So if the international community doesn't step in, if the international community doesn't step in, then tomorrow, as an example, Australia could stand up and say, I'll tell you what, we're going to take over New Zealand. We're going to do this. So it's very important now, more than ever, that the international community steps up and stops this
but you've got to look
genocide.
You've got to
look
at...
I don't think you two are actually disagreeing with each other.
No. What you have to look at is the youngsters are saying, right, enough's enough. You're not doing anything. You're just sitting and watching and talking about every rhetoric and policy.
So what you're talking about, Tan, is the hypocrisy.
The hypocrisy is one thing, but the solution is children... Innocent people are dying on both sides, irrespective. All humans, and it's not just in Israel and Gaza that's happening. It's across the world. If you look historically, in the last century, the Muslim community has been targeted across the globe. Okay, and millions of people have died, but we didn't get anywhere. We talked about everything, but the reality is, okay, this is all pre-planned, pre-orchestrated. If those onlookers and listeners are into the Illuminati and understand all that framework, they will know, yes, it's happening, it's there, it's in your face. People are talking at the moment about the red heifers and, this week that they're going to sacrifice and do all these things. Those people who are not aware need to be aware, because that conversation is going on amongst a lot of the young people.
I'd like to take us back, if I can, to that phrase, the international community, because it is used by particularly the Western powers really as a not very close cover for American interests.
Absolutely.
And the BBC particularly have been tying themselves in knots over recent weeks, because suddenly it's a very, very hard phrase to make stick. If the international community means anything, and I think we have to unpack that a bit, then surely it would mean exactly as you say, what the International Court of Justice is doing. And yet, of course, there is now a sharp divergence between where the actual procedures of international law are taking us and where American and Western imperial interests want to go. And that division, I think, and opens up a wider conversation.
It does, because at the end of the day, people are saying, we don't know what to do. The government said, the reality is you're voting the government to make those stupid decisions and supporting that. Yeah, because people ask me, what should we do, to stop all this? I said, don't vote. If the whole country doesn't vote, we've got a hung parliament. Then you've got serious problems.
But do you actually see that as a serious option?
I see that as a serious option, because that sends a loud message to all the political parties concerned in this matter now, because now...
So playing devil's advocate, would you not consider not voting at all as actually playing into the hands of the people who want to do these things?
Well,
if anything,
yes, I think that's right.
Is it not about saying vote whoever they may be, vote against? And whoever you wish to vote, but don't vote for a party if you think that party is involved in genocide.
You don't, but at the same time, you've got to counteract those parties to say enough's enough now. So if they've got no seating, no voting, no support, as they have historically...
Just if you think about it, Tanya, current voter turnout in the UK in a general election is around about 55 or 60%. Yep. So there's about 35-40% of people who, or maybe 50%, no, 55%, well, a large percentage of people who don't even bother to turn up to the polling station. Governments run, governments work, governments have authority, governments have a mandate.
I'd like to pick that up in a minute.
If another 3% of people or 4% of people were to join those non-voting people, it will just be lost. In effect, you'd have the argument, well, the people who voted for us are happy with these policies.
But these policies are socially engineered for these scenarios.
Well, absolutely. But I can say quickly, it's perfectly possible for them to run the kind of system they do at the moment on even lower turnouts. The turnouts in American elections, actually, are even lower than they are here. But unfortunately, it doesn't stop the American government arming Israel to the teeth or any of the rest. So I would be careful, personally, because I think if we encourage people simply to disengage, then the powers that be are quite happy with that.
But then the powers that be have planned it that way.
Well, so perhaps we shouldn't play into their hands.
But maybe the legal,
I don't think voting
the legal
is
advisors are sitting on the bench.
Well, what I would
talking
say,
a lot, but they're not doing much.
What I would say is that the youth, the mature, everybody in Britain should make an effort to come out and vote. I will be standing at the next election, and I will ensure that Britain is a more fair place.
Are you using Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton actually to launch your candidacy? Can we inquire about which election and more details? It's news to us.
Thank you for inviting me, but I'm not here to try and progress my political career. I'm more here to ensure that people understand that they don't need to be afraid to go.
But you said
speak.
you would stand for an election. So which election?
You stand for Prime Minister.
If the country thinks I'm the man, then I'm more than happy to speak for them, and I will not use terms like I give the voiceless a voice. Well, no. I think that's a derogatory term. I think everybody has a voice. Sometimes our voices are perhaps not as strong. So those who have voices that are not as strong, I'm more than happy to speak on their behalf. And I'm more than happy to ensure that we create an equal opportunity country, where we can all thrive. It's time that we kind of educated everybody that it doesn't matter, look, if you're black or you're brown or you're Christian or you're Jew or you're Muslim, a solution can be found. And even now, this genocide that's unfolding, there is a solution. And if we had the people, the right hearts, the right mindset. Remember, the politics of the Middle East has now escalated into Britain. So the politics in the Middle East is creating division in Britain. I urge listeners to ensure that those politics are not dividing us.
But it is dividing because there's a huge shift on the far right and the far left as well. And now, if you look, in the 80s when we had all those issues, it is social engineering. It's a plan. It's the colonial system that's been working to its T, and this is the final finale.
So absolutely, as you said,
there's a global shift. If you look, just give me a second.
Martin, I'll bring you in, but before I do,
there's just one point. There's a global shift. Okay, the what they call the South, the global South, are now coming into the power. It's all about economics and money. Okay.
But you're talking about problems. West, I'm giving you solutions.
Yeah, but those problems,
what I'm saying.
How do we deal with it now?
What I'm saying, the solutions are to ensure that we now encourage, support the people who are going to make Britain great. Really make Britain great. Kind of not people, just say they're going to make Britain great.
They are. But the thing is, remember, you've got the divide. The young people don't have confidence because throughout their whole life they've been spoon-fed with the typical, political parties I won't mention. Now, where did they go? Enough is enough. Sometimes, democracy hasn't worked. Yeah.
So we've got one argument here saying disengage, and we've got another argument saying engage and become politically active.
I never said disengage. I said think wise in what you engage, because if you're engaging, like what Martin said, we're feeding into the narrative. Well,
if I can say, first of all, I don't think political change is primarily driven through the ballot box. I don't think we should abstain from it, but if you look over the last few months, after October the 7th, it was actually quite hard to raise the Palestinian cause in wider society. And, in our trade union branches, that has shifted markedly. Now, it shifted, of course, to a huge extent because of what's been happening in Gaza and the exposure of what the Israelis are doing. But it has also shifted because of the mass defiance of the government's line. I've been on all the national demonstrations, and the mood and the temper has shifted over time. Remember, quite early on, I think it was on Remembrance Day, wasn't it? The 11th of November. Suella Braverman tried to outlaw certain slogans. She tried to, and it backfired seriously. Absolutely. And we moved the narrative in our direction. And I think that is done not just through the national demonstrations.
And it's growing stronger.
There were multiple revolts.
Martin, carry on.
But okay, we moved the narrative in our direction. But we didn't primarily do it by managing to convince leading politicians.
No, you did it because it was right.
It was a movement from the ground up. And I think if you look at politics in general, change is driven from the ground, whether it was votes for women in Britain in the early part of the last century,
a bit like
or
the old poll tax rally.
Yeah, I was on that too, as it happens. I mean, all of those things changed the balance of forces, and the politicians catch up. The politicians have to listen.
Has the change happened, or is it still in process?
It's a process, isn't it? Absolutely.
And
so we lose some battles and we win others. But my point is that change is driven from the ground, and we should see that first. But that doesn't mean, in my opinion, that we say, well, actually, elections are irrelevant. They come second, but they are important. I mean, quickly, can I mention the Warsaw situation?
And also, before you mention something, I just want to say something about Suella Braverman and these hate marches. And this kind of explains why we're here today. You see, there's lots of misconceptions, for example, or terms that are being used, an activist or a hate march. No, it was love march. So what I did straight away, as soon as I heard Suella Braverman calling these hate marches, I did my own video and published it on social media, saying, look, these are love marches, because people of all colours, of all religions, of all ages were coming together in the rain, in the snow,
peacefully,
right? Peacefully, to show their support for the civilians on both sides.
And they still are.
And important to say that included Jews, Christians, people like myself, atheists, and so on. And there was no sense in which anyone was victimized. All that nonsense about this is anti-Semitic. Well, of course it wasn't.
And all she was doing was trying to stir up hatred, cause division, and fearmonger people.
Exactly. But she failed.
These are hate marches. I can't go out.
I do need to.
Strength is in the numbers.
I do need to just say, Suella Braverman isn't here to defend herself, and from that point of view, I'm sure she would oppose your view. But moving on, Martin,
she can call in if she wants.
I'm sure if she's listening, she's welcome to do so. 01902 972 150. But Martin, coming back to you, how did local activism help with regards to, for example, Elbit?
Yes, I think that's really important. Just to set the scene for those who don't know, there is a weapons factory just north of the main West Midlands conurbation, north of Walsall and Birmingham, the Elbit owned UAV engine factory. And it makes 85% of the drone engines which are used over Gaza as we speak. And was almost certainly involved, for example, in the murder of the 7 aid workers last week. I mean, just as an aside, it is horrible that it takes the death of 6 Westerners and their Palestinian driver for this to be moved up the agenda here, but it has caused it to be moved up the agenda. I mean, there are, as we know, tens of thousands, probably 40,000 Palestinians killed so far, including those buried under the rubble. And somehow 7 Westerners or 6 Westerners and their driver count for more than that. But nevertheless, it opens up a space to have the discussion, doesn't it? And Elbit arms Israel. So I've been involved, along with quite a lot of others, with a series of protests at Elbit to draw attention to what's going on there. And I'm sure we don't have time for the full story, but very quickly, initially Elbit's response was to keep really quiet and under the radar. If we turned up outside, they'd just shut the factory, and a couple of people were arrested on one of the protests, but Elbit didn't want to put up any evidence, almost certainly because they didn't like the publicity. That's now they can't hide any longer. They can't hide. And I think we have a particular responsibility to put the finger on them now that they are beginning to be seen for what they are. So we are going to have a protest on Monday morning. If anyone's around from 7 o'clock in Shenston, turn up outside the factory for a peaceful protest. And we will say, engines here kill children.
And I heard that there was some success with that campaign in that they were planning to sell the site because they found it was not viable anymore because of all the protests going out on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that we know the Shenston site is going yet, but they are under huge pressure. They used to have 10 facilities in this country, Elbit, and Elbit is the largest privately owned Israeli arms company.
but
with
you see,
tentacles all over the place.
and-
Just quickly for facts, 3 of those 10 facilities are now closed, and most recently they've been forced to sell their plant in Tamworth, which is a big victory for us. But they still have their engine plants in Shenstone.
So there is a real impact that can be made.
Yes.
By doing some type of, forgive me, Aldaf, some type of activism. And through that, you can actually make direct change. I mean, okay, those supplies would have to now come from America or some other part of the world, but at least we can say, well, we took them off our patch. They're not coming out from the UK anymore. Tan.
So one thing you have to understand, as you mentioned, is the Israelis that own these companies. Okay, if you look across the globe, all the corporations, all the major elite organizations, whether you mention BlackRock or whatever boards, is owned by the Israeli community.
I'm not sure that's true, and
Majority.
I think that's a dangerous narrative, personally. They own some.
It might be, but the reality is we've had as much lobbying and campaigning, but who controls? And the key is, and the youth, right? They are stopping going places which I won't mention to certain eating outlets and organizations that are owned, and it's hit them economically. It is very active in the Middle East. It's working in the West and Europe, but it's hitting them where it hurts. And the key to this, when people say, how can we stop this? First of all, let's because you have the power, you have the choice to buy whatever consumer commodities you want. If you stop that, that's going to hit them economically. And if you hit them economically, that puts a stop. That gets you to the table to have a conversation. At the moment, because they control pretty much the whole world and the economy, okay?
Sorry, I'm going to interject.
No, but-
You've got to take out the word control and use the word influence.
Okay, influence.
Because it's important that the young and the old
Absolutely.
and everybody else understands that soon as you start thinking that somebody has control, you've lost control.
Yeah.
You have to understand there's a lot of influence.
It's a chess game.
And also, I think it's worth mentioning that it isn't all about control. In fact, there's a lot of control, as you say, that the population, people have by their choice of the goods they buy and places they make their investments.
But they're having an impact.
Let's talk about boycott, divestment, sanctions for a little bit, if we can we?
We can, but because we've got 2 minutes till the next break, so I'd rather have that discussion after that break.
But
carry on, Tam, with what you were going on.
Going to what they were saying, all these young people are now getting active because they're not heard. No one's representing them because, like you said, there's that divide. And what's happening now with all the economic shift and divides and the power going to the global south, the West is now beginning to collapse. You can look at it on the economic side. We're in recession. All the problems we have, social problems, all the issues, no funding, no this, no that. This is all socially engineered and designed, okay, so that the West collapse. And this ties in well with the biblical and the religious connotations of what they believe, at the end times, the coming of the Antichrist, the Messiah. All this ties in. This is what the young people are talking about because they're seeing it. It's there. And what's very, very important is now, you can't hide it. As I said, everything's been exposed so that everything's in the arena, and its influence on what you can do, what you can't do. We can sit and talk all day. South Africa did it. They took the courage and did something, and look at the sanctions and all the death threats and all the other things that come with it for those who stand for that. So the young people and those who are unlocking it, again, thinking, well, if they've tried, they're not getting anywhere. What's controlling them? Why are they so powerful that they can influence America and other regions in the world and still continue? Yeah, that's very important because it's the economic control. And this plan took 1,500 years to achieve. It didn't happen overnight, the colonial system.
Wolverhampton wasn't built in a day. Okay,
Absolutely.
so what we have to understand is whatever action we take. Okay, so I would rather use the word action rather than activism.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would empower and inspire and influence the youth to take action. Okay, every little helps, as Tesco say. Sorry.
Yeah, it does. But we
We're going
as
up
the
to
elders,
10 minutes to the break, 10 seconds to the break, I should say rather. So please join us and continue to listen in on to 87.8 FM. And in the last stint of this show, we will be hopefully giving you more information of how you can support and join.
Eurofit Auto Centres, the leading MOT and service centres in West Midlands, are recruiting technicians, MOT testers and managers. There's a starting salary of £30,000 based on experience, and a minimum 5 years experience is necessary. For details, call Rashad at Eurofit Auto Centres on 01902 404045. That's Eurofit Auto Centres on 01902 404045.
Northern Gas Heating, celebrating 24 years of reliable heating and renewable energy solutions for your home. We have unbeatable offers on gas boilers, fully installed by our professional engineers. If your business or home is paying high electricity prices, call for a free Northern Gas Heating quote for cost-effective solar PV with battery storage. Visit northerngasheating.com or call 0800 083 1000.
Ramadan Kareem from Premier Tyres, suppliers of the tyres you can rely on for safe driving, as they're the only link between your vehicle and the road. And as well as leading tyre brands, Premier's your reliable go-to garage for servicing, spares, repairs and MOTs. Now available, Wolverhampton taxi plated cars for hire. Now Uber and Bolt ready, so you can run your business in confidence. For details, visit Premier Tyres, Crown Street, WV1 1PX. Call 01902 455 684 or visit premiertyreservices.com.
Experience the AK Windows difference. Visit our HQ at Economic House, Salisbury Street, Wolverhampton, WV3 OBG. Discover quality UPVC and aluminium windows, doors, roof lanterns, bifolding doors and composite doors in various styles. Offering glass and UPVC repairs too. With over 30 years of experience, AK Windows is your trusted choice for both trade and retail. For free quotations, call 01902 421 500 or visit akwindows.co.uk. Elevate your living with AK Windows. Precision, quality, satisfaction.
Midland Plastics and Plumbing Limited, your one-stop shop for home and bathrooms. A wide range of plumbing products and quality bathroom supplies in Wolverhampton. We supply underground drainage, guttering, roofing products, UPVC cladding and much more to the trade and public. This Ramadan, we're offering 40% off all bathroom suites. Visit us online at midlandplasticsltd.co.uk or call us today on 01902 399 611. Or why not visit in-store at Moore Street South, Wolverhampton, WV2 3JN.
Mubi Bass Electronics, specialist in car audio and home entertainment. Suppliers of leading brands, Samsung, Sony, and Panasonic. We supply and fit all car audio systems, top brands, Kenwood, Bose, and we're an authorized supplier of Vibe product. Visit our store online at mubibass.co.uk and order today for next day delivery. Mubi Bass Electronics are proud sponsors of Wolverhampton Wanderers FC. Call us today for a free quote on 01902 754 546 and quote Ramadan 20 for 10% off. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Mubi Bass Electronics, specialist in car audio and home entertainment.
Khan Builders offer a full range of building services, from major rebuilds to small projects, home improvements, kitchen fitting, plastering, bathroom fitting, extensions and much more. We pride ourselves on providing a professional, caring and high quality service and always meet our customers' needs. Contact Khan Builders today on 07813 950 265 for a free quotation from Khan Builders. We've all spent a lot of time at home lately, and it's time to notice those carpets really need replacing. Let's be honest, we don't want to go from shop to shop, do we? Well, Perfect Carpets can save you the time and bring perfection to your floor. Over 1,000 high-quality styles and colours. Carpets start from only £3 per square yard. Rugs from £30. There's free measurements and free quotation with exclusive trade discounts to landlords and builders. You can't get any more perfect. Make your home with Perfect Carpets, the Black Country's biggest carpet store. Call us today on 01902 428 833 or visit us at 21 to 25 Snow Hill, Wolverhampton, WV2 4AD, and quote Ramadan Radio for 5% off your next order.
Quick Build Construction Limited offer a full range of building services, from major rebuilds to small projects, home improvements, kitchen fitting, plastering, bathroom fitting, extensions and much more. We pride ourselves on providing a professional, caring and high-quality service and always meet our customers' needs. Contact Quick Build Construction today on 07813 950 265 for a free quotation from Quick Build Construction.
Do you have a family member that's passed away and you would like someone?
87.8 FM, Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton, and this is the third stint of our program around Palestine Awareness and the campaign for Palestine Awareness. We've got three guests in the audience with us. We've got Altaf Hussain, who's an international solicitor. We've got Martin Lynch, who is chair of Kobar Association. And we've got Mohammed Tambir, who is our local youth organisations activist in Telford. So welcome back.
Solicitor.
Sorry, I'll put your mic on. Do you want to repeat that again?
I'm an influencer, not an activist, as advised by our legal matters.
Right. Okay. Let's bring in our legal expert, and I want to, in this section of the show, really focus more so on localism. I want to think about what it is we can do here within the West Midlands, within the Black Country, within Wolverhampton, in order to record, I should say, or register our protest, our opposition to what we think is going on in these distant parts of the world.
I think it's important now that we come together and we start to support the people who want peace around the world. So I'm encouraging everybody, locally, nationally, and across Britain, to start supporting a party that cares, a party that wants really good for Britain and good for the world, and a party that's going to really ensure there's equality, and I'm all for equality, and personally I'm looking to stand at the general election in Birmingham. My name's Altaf Hussain. I'm a solicitor and international lawyer. I just wanted to put clarity on that. I'm also the author of a book called The Angel's Advocate. I will be standing in Birmingham at the next election, and I want you to come and show your support. If you have concerns, then I'm the man that will be able to raise those concerns on your behalf, from the individual to the company to government level.
And from your point of view, it's not about a protest vote. You are a serious candidate. You want to actually become a member of Parliament, to be able to stand in the House of Commons and be able to raise your voice and say, this is wrong and I'm against this and we should do something about it.
Well, prior to COVID, I was looking to be a Conservative MP. They did invite me back on numerous occasions, and I told them they need me. If they want Birmingham, they need me. And they obviously understood that, and they invited me. And there's normally 5 stages to becoming an MP, and I passed the first 2 stages. But like I said, when they said to me I passed the first 2 stages, I said to them, well, no, it's a 2, then you need me, because at the moment Labour is running Birmingham. But I fell out in the end with Boris Johnson, and
I think it was Rishi. He saw you and he thought there's competition here.
Well,
that's the inside back table Tory conversation.
So, I fell out with Boris Johnson purely because I knew he was going to have wine parties and beer parties at 10 Downing Street, and I was telling everybody, look, he's going to have a party. Okay, he's going to have a party. And I'm not saying there wasn't, a flu or and we shouldn't really worry. What I'm saying is that we should have taken more caution. What we should have done is we should have locked, if you like, the people that are unwell, tell them to stay at home, but the healthy should have went out.
I want to stray away from COVID because that's history now, and let's be looking to the future. Let's focus more about your candidacy and how you were talking about you want to get people within, and obviously we don't encourage people to vote any particular party from Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton. We are totally apolitical. However, we do encourage people to vote. So if you're here and you're saying you wish to be a part of that political activity and you want to stand, have you got an idea of which seat, which constituency in Birmingham you'd be interested in?
I have a number of supporters, a number of businessmen and so forth who have approached me and they want me to stand. I'm not going to disclose the constituency at this present
So
time.
it's early days at the
It's
moment.
early
really.
days, but rest assured, I'm not the only one. There's lots of good people, lots of good men and women that are coming together to ensure, like I said, that the voices are now heard and we bring this peace in Britain and across the world, and it can be achieved. We just need the right people to come together and one step at a time.
I think there's an idea here. As what Martin was saying, with all the people who have been in these demonstrations, processions, and activists since October the 7th, okay, all those candidates, yeah, and there's some good talent in those groups that are supporting nationally, they should all, within their groups, all elect and stand them as independents across the nation, because they're all in unity anyway to make the stop of war. So if we put it in a structure where the network works there and they're all independent, they're all working for the right cause, then you're going to have an input and an impact in Parliament, because you've got the right-minded people, the right supporters historically, and like you said, you can stir up change right from the back street and have the right people across all boards and all representatives. Then you can have peace because you've got them in the House of Parliament who now can unite together and speak the same one voice. That's my opinion.
Okay, I would put the emphasis somewhere else, though. I mean, if I can quickly, there are probably over 3 million people who've, and I won't use the word activism, who have become active in one way and another over the last 6 months. That is a phenomenal movement. It almost certainly involves more people than were involved in the anti-war movement at the historic high in 2003. And every one of those people has friends, family, workmates, people they know in the community, through their mosque, through their other religious convictions, whatever. And it makes a very, very strong network. But if we just divert that towards traditional politics, I think we miss a trick, because the strength comes from the ground up. And I've already said I'm not against participating, far from it, in the formal political system. But the real resilience of this movement comes from the fact that so many people are actively involved. The Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions Campaign, BDS, has been increasingly important over the last 6 months. Just for reference, it was started in Palestine in 2005 by a committee of Palestinians. It wasn't from the Palestinian Authority government or any. It was a grassroots initiative, involved about 200 non-governmental organizations in Palestine, and I think we should answer that call. So briefly, what are the targets? Well, Barclays Bank, if I dare say, who are currently financing a greater proportion of armaments that are being used to attack Palestinians at the moment than any other bank. Now, it's not the other banks are necessarily innocent, but if you can make an example of one of them, you can drive the others back. And of course, that goes back to South Africa, if I can very quickly say, because I'm old enough to remember, sadly, the Barclays Bank campaign.
Martin, use this time by all means, and let's elaborate on this, because I'm quite keen for our listeners to really get a real appreciation of BDS and what's involved with it and the campaign. If people feel they can wish to support and join that, then please do so.
I think there are a number of key...
Allow Martin to continue.
Key things about it. First of all, it's a targeted campaign. As I said, it is led by Palestinians, and they ask us to focus on a specific list in order to make an example of those. There are very long lists floating around of every company that's ever traded with Israel. I would humbly suggest it's not a good idea to do that, because if you do that, in a sense, by boycotting everything, you end up by boycotting nothing. It's not actually a moral campaign per se, or it's very moral objectives, of course, but it's a strategic campaign to pick on just a dozen or so brands. And we've had some recent success. Puma, the sportswear company, used to sponsor the Israeli football team. They have cancelled that sponsorship as of the end of next month. And woe betide any other company that steps in. Adidas used to do it. They've been driven back. Puma have given it up. And those who muddy the water saying, oh, well, they're all implicated in some form or another, the other companies have got stores in Tel Aviv and so on. They may have, but let's not get distracted. Let's focus. McDonald's, we were discussing briefly in the break, not to betray any confidences. McDonald's, as I suspect most listeners know, actually gave a large number of freebies to Israeli troops in Israel shortly after October the 7th. They haven't half paid for that. The boycott campaign against McDonald's has got huge traction. Their CEO has acknowledged they've lost a lot of money. And last week, they were forced to revoke the franchise they have in Israel and take direct control of it. Without getting too technical, most McDonald's are run on a franchise basis. They are feeling the pressure, and we need to keep that up, I think. And perhaps I won't elongate this by going through other targets, but I really strongly recommend people get involved in the BDS campaign. It is a very straightforward and immediate way by which we can put pressure on.
How do we do that? How do we get involved? I mean, short of obviously just like, as you say, for example, don't go to Barclays or don't go to Tesco's or don't go to... That's one aspect of it.
Well, first of all, I would strongly suggest it's well worth people getting involved with the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, with Friends of Al-Aqsa, and organisations such as these which spearhead this work. And you can find them online very easily, and it's easy to join, and you will then be put in touch with other people locally who are ready to work with you. And none of us need do this on our own. I mean, you can do if you have to, but it's much better to work together, I would say, collectively. You will see in I just mentioned at the start, we've been doing some stuff this afternoon in Asda. We're not actually asking people to boycott Asda as a store or Tesco as a store. It's targeted. We're asking them not to buy Israeli produce that are in that store. And in particular, one of the targets of the BDS campaign, again, Palestinian-led, is fruit and veg. And you'll find, for example, a huge proportion of the avocados in all the main supermarkets at the moment.
In this month
dates as well. That's right. Yeah. So check the label is one very key message there. Check the label. By law, all goods have to show the country of origin, and just doesn't take a moment. Just have a look. Where's it come from? Those peppers, you'll find sometimes peppers come from different places. They pack them together in threes. You may find one's from Israel and two are from Spain or something like that. Well, just don't go there. There are alternatives. And that pressure, that collective pressure over time, undoubtedly helped in the campaign against Mandela himself acknowledged that international solidarity was important. We need to do it here as well.
We also learned recently about McDonald's and the campaign, and maybe you'd want to elaborate on that, how that's been successful or partially successful.
Partially successful. Well, as I briefly referenced, the chief... The executive, the CEO of McDonald's, has acknowledged they have lost a large amount of money. Their share value has gone down as a result of the boycott. And I've already mentioned it's forced them into a defensive strategy of cancelling the franchise they have in Israel. That doesn't mean they're withdrawing from Israel at this point, but they're sure as hell taking direct control so it doesn't start doing things that cast them in a bad light internationally. Same is true of other brands, as people have seen. Starbucks has acknowledged they've been under pressure. So, as I said, a brief, sharp list includes Starbucks, includes McDonald's, includes Barclays Bank, not actually Tesco, but the stores. The products.
Martin, you're doing a fantastic job, and you're going to take over again. I just want to make one point. I think what viewers need to understand is, and not apply too much pressure to themselves or their families, thinking, "Oh my God, I'm going to have to boycott McDonald's and Tesco and everybody else." No, one step at a time. It's a lifestyle. So if you start, for example, thinking, well, McDonald's funding this, this genocide, I don't want McDonald's, and then implement that into your life one step at a time. And lots of people are doing this around the UK and around the world.
But it is a short, sharp list. As I said,
and I think with the superstores, it isn't so much about the whole superstore. It's about individual products within it. So it's about giving people the information. I think, is it 927?
It is.
The barcode 927 is what you should avoid.
Yep.
So when you go to your local Sainsbury's, Asda, Aldi's, wherever, look at the barcode, have a see if you can identify 92.7, and if you do, don't buy that product. So it isn't actually about the supermarket as a whole, it's about the individual products that are for sale in the supermarket.
I think it's very important what Martin had outlined, that the BDS system is you're the influencer. People are saying, what can we do? You can do something because corporations rely on you as the consumer. So if you make wise decisions on your consumption, you're going to have a wide impact. There's already evidence being shown with McDonald's, Starbucks, and other big brands. They're getting hit hard. And when you're talking in billions, because remember, this movement and network is across the globe. So if everyone participates, just like an ant does his little bit of one drop, collectively, you've crushed the corporations, because those corporations have no choice. And when it's economic reasons, they have to cut corners, they have to drop things, they have to make the change. So you're influencing that change. And if you tell them, no, this is how you do it, and you become the coordinator across the globe and have that network, then they're at your mercy and you can have a lot more impact, because finance is the key. The one who holds the purse controls the world. And we need to understand that the product of that and all these isms that come above us is to keep us there, so we don't think outside the box, like Altaf said, that you need to now think, like what Martin was saying. We had all these campaigns and things going on in the background with Friends of Al-Aqsa. Now all of a sudden, after the 7th of October and the media coverage, everyone has